the COVID-19 video messages and the song to bring hope, Asibe Munye song. That was our first project to work together as two associations in the industry. For me, that was history in the making. It made us into a family, because that's one thing that we are missing in the industry, being a family, standing together. When there are issues, we speak them in one voice. So that's why I'm saying change is very good. It only depends which side have you been looking at. Do you decide to keep on focusing on the negative side, or at some point you pick up yourself and look at the positive side of it and take a step forward? So when we started working on the song and the video messages, basically the major objective was to educate the public about COVID-19, but it was also a way of keeping the artists busy, to give them hope that one day this is gonna pass, even for us as artists. And I'm very grateful to Swama, the executive, for allowing us to work together and for trusting us also as a Keswa that we can work together. I may say it was not easy to convince everyone that we can do this, but we did it finally. And that's the important part. And I want to appreciate our government for allowing us to take part in the education around COVID-19 for the public. I think the videos and the songs have had very huge viewership on social media, and that the interpretation on our side is it has reached the people that we wanted to reach, but it's still going on. And then when we finished that project, we also looked at options of how can we advocate for a relief fund for all artists in the industry with our government or other stakeholders. The most difficult part about COVID-19 is we all losing sponsors. The people that we usually rely on, whether you are in the corporate or you are in an NGO or you are wherever, you have lost sponsorship. Sponsors have lost their CSI budget. It's gone to zero or negative to some. But we still have to keep on knocking on every door for the sake of the artists, because if you can notice very well, most artists, they last had their bookings in December, and now we are in July. Question is, how have they been sustaining themselves all these months? It's very difficult. So with nothing coming into their pockets, we do realize that we need to have our own ways of generating income without relying on outside or external sources, because everyone is having problems. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to receive a positive response from our government concerning the relief fund for artists. The most difficult part is all relief funds are going through SRA, which means you must declare all your taxation issues before you get whatever support, and it doesn't work for us as an industry. That's not how we've been doing things. So it's really a negative effect on us. So I believe that our government, because I engaged the minister last week um, about this when we were launching the awards, and I am hoping that they will relook into this issue, because it would be very sad if we are going to lose individuals in the industry into hunger, poverty, theft, just because they are not having a financial support. So those are the challenges that we are facing. But as an association, we also notice that everyone now is on social media. for artists to be able to market their music must be online. It must be found online. So when we did the stock check, we found that there's very few artists who have loaded their music online, and there's very few artists who understand how to do it. The technical know-how is quite low. So we had to start there and address those challenges. First of all, we had to organize an online training or workshop on issues of how do you really load your music online? How does marketing your music online work? How do you publish your music properly so that it can generate money for you? Because you can release an album, load it online, but if you didn't do your publishing properly, your allocation of percentages for royalties, if you didn't do it properly, it still won't work for you. People will eat your money and you won't even notice that people have taken your money. So we did 3 online workshops for artists covering all those topics, and we had quite a lot of engagements, and they were asking. We had Capasso joining us from South Africa. We had Share Africa Publishing also joining us to educate the artists. And then after doing that, we moved into a stage of helping the artists now to load the music. You know, it talks to quality of the music. It talks to the quality of the sleeve. It talks to their understanding of how now it's gonna work inside the platforms and which platforms are easy to use.
Yeah.
So we engaged one of our producers who's very good. That's Mandela. We call him Mandela, to assist the artists, and the association had to foot the bill. I think we've loaded like 25 artists online who were not online, but some their music got rejected because of quality issues. They had to redo it. So basically, that's what we have been doing. And then now we've launched the awards, the annual gospel awards, which are going to happen in November. So we're starting the journey. Basically, we just want to remind our fans that we are here, and it would be very good for them to appreciate us, our effort, because music, it sustains the soul.
Yeah, it does.
When people have lost hope, when people have lost light, they see, all they see is darkness. Music plays a very big role in rebuilding the inner person for that individual. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful to all artists that have put so much effort into releasing their new albums, singles during this season. It's been very difficult. I'm one of the artists that released an album during this season. I've seen all the challenges that are there, you know, getting your CDs stuck somewhere because of lockdown, and you have so many costs to cover because things have changed and all prices have gone up. It doesn't matter for what, all prices have gone up. um,
Yes.
so that's basically what we are doing currently. We are also looking
Okay.
into options of having our membership covered. Um, Please don't misinterpret me in this. I pray you don't misinterpret me. It's something that we've wanted to do for some time. And I think now we've been able to collect enough resources to do it because the membership is so big. We want to make sure that all our membership individuals, they are covered in terms of funeral policy, just so when it happens that we face that kind of a situation, our members, they receive dignified rest, because they are artists, they are respected individuals in the society. We also looking at
Yeah.
options of putting up a savings and credit um, portfolio in our association, because when once the lockdown has been uplifted, artists will need to start doing events. For them to do those events, for them to go into studio, they will need some cash to do it. It has been obvious that the fundings that have been availed, they are not able to accommodate us as an industry. We still have a lot of advocacy to do in the country so that our structures in the country, they realize that they need to value artists, because artists, they bring in a lot of economy in the country. A lot of money comes in because of artists in the country. Until we realize that and we appreciate their effort, it's still going to be difficult. So also with SWAMA president, we are working on the issues of the structures that are required in the country for all artists to receive their royalties. It's still gonna be a long journey because there's so much to put up, so much is not in place. But we are willing to take one step at a time with our government so that artists, they receive their royalties, because the music is played during the day, the whole day, at night. All DJs are playing music. If the country was already set in terms of paying for royalties for artists, we wouldn't be crying for any relief fund right now, because we would know that artists are being cushioned by money of their own intellectual property. So basically, hey, that's it. Before I talk for 30 minutes.
No, thank you very much, Betty. I think that was a mouthful.
I
You've
hope
actually
that's okay,
answered
Sheila.
a lot of the questions that we had for you or for most of the panel. And then thank you for the effort really that you're putting together as, you know, as an association, the collaboration, you know, the different ideas coming in terms of relief funds. And also you mentioned an issue of royalties, you know, to look after the dignity of all of our artists. You are very right by saying that the arts, not just music, but the arts, they really bring a whole lot of value to us, even before we speak about the economic gains that come from the arts.
Yeah.
As an individual, you know, there's good content out there that really is building. You know, today we are watching a local series, Ekaya. We listen to local music that has gone international, and that adds so much value even to, you know, to us as individuals. So I'm really proud of it. And thank you. We hope that this will speed up and we will see a lot of, you know, results coming up. May I please bring you, Tizalami, into this one, because we are speaking, you know, about associations and what the associations have basically done at this time. I do appreciate that this has caught everybody off guard, not just the associations. I mean, the government we're crying to was also caught off guard, and I'm pretty sure they also scrambled for resources for so many things. But I'd love to know, you know, from a mental health perspective, Tizalami, if there's anything SWAMA, you know, has done for the artists, because over and above just the financial hit, the mental hit is also quite massive. And I know that over the next couple of months, we will be seeing some of the effects of what is happening now, post-COVID, whenever post-COVID is, you know. But you can also let me know also some of the other efforts that SWAMA has put in place, aside maybe from the collaboration that you've had with Akeswa around some of the activities. Would you please just go through that, my brother?
Okay, thank you so much, Peter. I had the question loud and clear. And thank you so much to the Akeswa president again for actually outlining some of the initiatives that we have done in a collaborative manner. Perhaps, Pilar, I have to, from the onset, state that this novel coronavirus or the COVID-19, as it were, like you just said, it's something that caught everyone off guard. In actual fact, it just put our plans for the year into disarray. You know, it just jeopardized all the other plans that we had. For instance, you will recall that we have a relatively new president, new in quotes really. So who was coming with new ideas again of taking the association ahead, you know, given the milestones that we have achieved in the past 3 or 4 years. You will recall that before his time, because our current president has been president before, but before he was president, you recall that Soma was hardly here nor there, Soma was hardly known, so he did quite a lot. And I wouldn't really credit him alone, but it has always been a collaborative effort. So this year, we did something quite unprecedented for an association like ours, which is largely viewed as secular, to collaborate with Akeswa, a Christian entity. It's something that I wouldn't say out of this world, but something that is quite unprecedented, for our local standards. So I'd like to thank the president, the Akeswa president, and our president actually for actually creating that relationship, that entanglement, Pila, between the associations. Yes, this relationship really, I tell you that we are going to sustain it, because already we are seeing the fruits. We are seeing the fruits of this relationship. Pila, when we came together with Akeswa, it was during this time, it was at the peak, or rather not at the peak, at the onset of the lockdown. At the time, we were literally shocked, and we still are actually. We're still trying to come to terms with the fact that there are no arts, there is no entertainment this year. Like, there is no entertainment at all this year. We are still coming to terms with that. Given that entertainment for us has always been conventional, it's always been going to clubs physically, it's always been going to shows physically, it's always been going to places or events, as it were. But the new normal, that's taking things digitally. We shall be talking about that later, because already there are plans. But let me get straight to your question, Pilar, on mental health. This question, Pilar, is quite timely, because it comes at a time where, as an association, we are currently mourning the demise of some of our members. I will straight away, Pilar, tell you that this is taking a toll on us. It's taking a toll on the arts. It's taking a toll on everyone in the arts sector. We've been posting. Okay, first and for all, we wrote a proposal to government, obviously to the National Emergency Task Force team led by Obabe DPM. So we wrote a very comprehensive proposal, a proposal that spoke to issues like royalties, like Pesile has just said, a proposal that also spoke to issues of local content, promoting local content on our airwaves, will it be television, will it be radio as well. So that proposal for some time, Pilar, one thing that I trying very hard to do right now is to point fingers or to push blame, because this is a pandemic. It's new to everyone. It's new to government. It's a situation that government never anticipated. It's a situation that we in the industry never anticipated. So it will be folly for me to start pointing fingers. But even then, we in the arts, especially the arts administrators of associations like ours, we feel that more could have been done by now, given that those proposals that we put were quite detailed. For instance, when it comes to issues of promoting local content, we had requested that perhaps this gives us an opportunity, because in every dark cloud, there's always a silver lining, Pete. So the year is COVID. So what's the silver lining? Why not play more of our local music and then give royalties? Obviously, we know that setting up structures for royalty collection, or collection of royalties rather, and other things, it's going to take time, or there's some bureaucracy of sorts that it needs to go to a certain committee, or it has to go to parliament. But all those things we feel can be sped up. We can fast track those things, given that we have an unprecedented circumstance or situation that's facing us. We have a predicament right now facing the entire nation, not just us as a sector or as an industry, but all other sectors. So we have seen that other sectors are being proactive, and even government is being being responsive to the requests. I wouldn't call them demands, because they're not demands really, they are requests. But we still believe that government is leading us They are still leading the way. They are very capable. We still believe in the new team, in the team led by our still relatively new Prime Minister. We believe in them so much. But we feel somehow things can be
I think we lost Tizalami. I think we lost you there, Mr. Dube. So while he reconnects, I'm pretty sure.
Fast track. What's the step there? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. You're back.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I was saying I would like to ask even our National Council of Arts and Culture, to be proactive in this issue, because quite often most of the statements that we read on the papers are quite reactive, or it's just answering a certain interview from a junior reporter, or it's just commenting on a certain issue. But we want our National Council of Arts and Culture to be very proactive, to come up with, because we also wrote proposals to them. In actual fact, the proposal we wrote to government, we copied the Arts Council. So it's not really to blame them that they are really not doing anything. We know they are also incapacitated in terms of finances, but we need to see some action of sorts, because right now, this thing, like I've just said, this COVID situation is taking a toll on everybody, from us as the leaders of the associations to the artists themselves. But then we are not really succumbing to a defeatist attitude of sorts, Pilar. We are trying to come up with interventions of sorts, like you've just asked. For instance, we've decided to come up with a dedicated line for artists whereby they can call us. In actual fact, they are allowed to send a please call if there is something that that they'll want to discuss, especially pertaining to their situation at home, at their places, and especially pertaining to mental health. We have actually appointed an arts liaison person within our executive. Two of them actually. This happened to be our vice president. Our vice president, LeendorM Ph.D, happens to be our artist liaison with immediate effect, or actually from last month. So people are free to call her, and people are free to call Nobile Smelane as well. And they can also call myself. But over and above, or you can send a please call, we'll call back. But over and above that, we want to appreciate the little help that we've gotten from the Arts Council, because recently, for the first time again, I think some of the old members of our association, by the way, Soma turned 41 this year, is older than all of us in the executive, or most of us, I think only the president. So it's an old association, but for the first time in history, we got a subvention, which is quite the right, which sets the right tone really for where we are supposed to go. Because that subvention, as much as it is very, very small, but we are now trying to set up a website for the association. We are setting a SOMA website, which is going to become a portal, a one-stop portal for everything arts in the country and everything music in the country. So it's going to be, our artists are going to put in their profiles there. They're going to put in their details there. Their links as well, links to their music, be it be free downloads, be it be music for sound. We are also linking with other platforms with our collaborators, for instance, Music Time from MTN Eswatini and other platforms whereby artists can sell their music. So we are coming up with all these strategies so as to move over to the next, to the next era, the digital era. We are already living in it. So COVID, in a way, as much as it is really a bad thing, all pandemics really by nature and naturally are bad. But the good side of it, the flip side, is that it has ushered in, it has sped up the
I think we lost you
transition
again.
to the digital era. You'll recall that last year as well, you've lost me again.
Yeah, we've lost you again. Let's probably try and get you reconnected there, and we'll probably pick it up from that. Let me bring Shadow into this conversation before he falls asleep on me. I can see that he's getting too comfortable on his couch there. We've heard from both of the associations, pretty much, Shadow, and you are a business owner in Swazipo Entertainment, a stable. You are basically running this, and you have artists, DJs that basically live off of the gigs that are provided by Swazipo Entertainment, either through Deja Vu, the House Music Festival. How has this been to you, man? Because some artists have jobs, but most of our artists are living from their crafts. And I'd just love to know the reality on the ground, on your side, and what you've noticed, and what really the impact has been from, the source, my brother.
Okay, thank you, Dlamini. I'll be very honest with you, man. We are struggling. We are poor by the day. Speaking of 108 days of no income at all, is very challenging. If all businesses, like all over the world, businesses are shutting down. So in SA, Game is laying off about 1,800 people. Can you imagine the impact that it has on us in a very so small economy? It's very sad, when you look at the artists, when you look at around, when you look at looking at myself first, because like when I look at myself, I am got nothing, it's very sad. It's a very sad state of affairs that we find ourselves in. We cannot just keep on pointing fingers at here and there, but I feel there's something that can be done to maybe help alleviate just a little bit of the burden, the financial burden that has engulfed the country as a whole, especially in the arts industry. Fortunately for most artists, they've got an 8 to 5 jobs in Eswatini. Yeah, fortunately, I can probably say above 50% of those have got jobs, but the rest don't have jobs. And what happens to those that don't have any source of income? Well, how do you go about helping them? How do you go about trying to correct the wrong that was done before before COVID? I think right now we are suffering for all the wrongs that happened before COVID, and then the question then becomes, what do we do from now moving onwards? For example, that I can make it an example. I will, even amongst our panelists, Magapetsi and then there's Tizalam. Just an example. You find that Swama has an event. In that event, there is not enough money for them to pay artists what they deserve. I think that's a first step. And why Swama should have money. Either way, I don't know how, but Swama should have money. Akeswa should have money. I don't know how. The arts and culture should have money, like proper money. For example, how do I go about making money, like getting money? To all the people, there's like big brands in Eswatini, big brands that are coming from outside, big brands. You've got your Standard Bank, your FNBs, you've got Nedbank, you've got your Coca-Colas, you've got all these big companies, Even the worst part of all is in the construction industry, because those people are taking millions out of the country. If I can tell you now, the amount of money that Eswatini spent outside of the country last year was 1.8 billion. And money that was taken out of Eswatini and plowed outside the country by Eswatini. And then the income that came into the country is about 800 million, which means we took a 1 billion, of which it is about a quarter of our yearly budget, government budget. I think our government budget is about 4.5 billion, sorry.
Billion.
Yeah, billion. If I'm not mistaken, it's somewhere around there. So I think right now, this is where we should try to find the balance from moving onwards. Because right now we can cry that we are broke. We are broke. It's like everybody's broke. Everyone is broke. Nobody has got money in the arts industry. You can point one person in the entertainment industry that is broke and that has got money. And you should understand one thing, that events and alcohol, those two, the hospitality industry, let me just say the hospitality industry is, if I'm not mistaken, it should be the second, if not the third highest grossing industry in the world after manufacturing, if I'm not mistaken. Then you see how many people are affected if you are second or third. How many people are affected when you cut it off and you say, no, this industry, we must cut it off, and there's nothing that must be done. And then you're not doing something to elevate or to help that industry in terms of income. I can make you an example now. I had my notes down here. Is that, for example, if we have an event, if Akaswa has an event, or I'm just going to talk about an event in all its entirety. If an event is taking place, what happens? People plan for going to an event. People then go to outfits, to get outfits. Who benefits from that? The clothing industry. People go to events. What do they use? They use cabs, they use buses, or they use cars, of which all those things are petrol, which means the petrol industry benefits. And then we hire security companies, bouncers, security to manage our events. Even the gospel shows, if I'm not mistaken, they hire. I know my friend Makau hires security, and he has security guards and bouncers there. Trust me, I know for a fact. And then there's the food vendors. I'm talking about food vendors. I'm talking even when you go to some show on a Saturday or a Sunday, whatever. They take kids through school with that money. You know, they put food on the table with that money. Yeah. So like when you even if it's not the informal one, when you're talking about big hotels, you talk about chefs. Those people are people that have to get paid, you know. So all those people need to get paid. And then you're talking about the graphics guys, the guys that do the graphics, the super graphics, like the t-shirt I'm wearing. Zuma did this, awesome work he did, you know. Those people have to get paid. The musicians get paid, DJs get paid, poets get paid, all those people, you know. Then you look at it and then you see that chain of people that I've just mentioned above. All of them are not getting any sort of income, and you're not doing anything to help them. So what must happen? What's going to happen? These people are going to start doing funny stuff. They're going to start committing suicide. Excuse me, and they'll get into depression. So I think right now, what we need to do is that the government must come through. Not necessarily the government, because like, for example, there's like people like Bolocha. Bolocha was once an MTN brand ambassador, you know. It doesn't mean that now that it doesn't have a contract with MTN, then MTN should not forget about him. But there should be like, those companies like MTN have got social responsibilities. Those are the people that work with. At least try to cater for some of those people that they've worked with, you know, to say that, no, we know that you're going through some sort of space. You don't even give them data. Data is expensive, you know. So those are the things that you should be doing as companies. So Tizalam, those are the things that you and Akeswa and arts and culture that you should be trying to push to say, corporates, come on now. You cannot be putting up billboards, come on. Why are you putting up a billboard when people are sitting at home? Why are you putting up billboard? People are sitting at home. Take that money and put it in, give it to the artists, make artists, the comedians, make them make funny skits about the product that you want to launch. We've got YouTube channels. Every child is on YouTube now. I'm sure they don't even know who all the YouTubers in Swaziland are. You know, so all those things are like really touch a nerve. It's really sad, and it's disheartening that nobody cares about it. You know, so people are going to start go on as if nothing is wrong. There is a whole lot of wrong. And then when a person dies or commits suicide, and everybody writes on Facebook, "Rest in peace," yada yada yada. Even the people that are supposed to have helped you, that are holding all the big checks in these companies, because you can tell me now is that all these companies have got leverages for this. Some of them have got insurance policies that they took out for pandemics like this. So right now, I feel like something has got to give, man. Something's got to give. From moving forward, we should know that in order for the industry to thrive, there must be rich people. And how do people get rich? Well, they should have paid you not anything less than 5 million for a car. Come on now. That's a world-class production. You understand? Eswatini TV should have paid 5 million for that. Nothing less than 5 million for that. That's like, trust me, that thing, if you put it, if you can take it anywhere in the world, people will go crazy and think of like, I want to go to Eswatini. You understand? So it should be that. It shouldn't be like when you take up a production like that, the tourism ministry should jump in and say, this is what we can use to promote the country. Sense. I can tell you now, Sense is like one of the biggest selling artists Swaziland has ever had, if not the biggest. It's ever had. But who amongst the companies has first sense to say, Sense, come, let's do this with you? You know, they'll say, you know, Sense is difficult to work with. No, Sense is not a priest. He's an artist. There's a difference that you should know. Because like I can know, for example, like these big companies, some of them have when they throw Christmas parties or they do these events, because most of the companies now are doing events. The big companies are doing events. And the budget is crazy. Crazy budget. I tell you now, if those 3 million, 4 million that they spend on the budget, they pump it into the economy throughout the year, they'll get more value throughout the year than they would get throughout that one event.
Yeah.
I can tell you.
You know, Shadow, your passion is palpable, you know, like I can almost touch it. And I really appreciate it, because the things you are raising are quite pertinent. I mean, I'll start with the numbers, for instance. And I don't need, honestly speaking, I know you were busy saying when you were speaking, if you're not mistaken. As far as I'm concerned, you're not mistaken. When Shadow speaks, it's truth. So it's not acceptable that we have 1 billion of, hard-earned Malangeni that is going out of the country when Swazi artists, are in the state that they're in. And when I say artists, I mean basically Swazi entrepreneurs. I think we produce some of the best things locally. I'm wearing Sconian Republic today, which is one of the locally produced brands, which is awesome, if you know what I mean. And also, you've mentioned the collaborations that artists have with corporate. So you're bringing in another dimension. The associations are speaking on government, and you on the business side are speaking on corporate as well. I have a question and a challenge for all of you, because you also mentioned the issue of payment. Now, this is the time where I believe going forward, we need to fix a couple of things. How do we regulate our industry to ensure that going forward, we don't allow SANS to be paid 10,000 and a South African artist, comes in and gets paid 100,000, when SANS is going to probably do as well or maybe even better, if you know what I mean. Because if Swazi artists, for instance, you were making an example with Welile here, deserving 5 million, and I'm here for that figure, if you know what I mean. But you can imagine if Swazi artists were paid their worth or the value that they bring in, we probably wouldn't be in a situation like the one we're in now, because we would be asking them what they've done with their money. At least then we have a leg to stand on. But considering the amount that they get paid, I mean, honestly, what is there to even be saved? I'm part of the industry myself. I know what I get paid for an event compared to my South African or my international counterparts. And yet maybe we bring in, similar value. So as associations and also as companies and stables that are representing us, and I want to believe are major players in the industry, do you have plans to regulate the industry going forward? That as a minimum, an established DJ, when I say established, I mean a person that has got the hours under his belt, or maybe he has an album. As an established artist, musician, I mean a person that has got the hours under his belt, or 1 or 2 couple of albums. You can even throw in awards to say if you've won, so many awards. How much money should you be paid, at industry level, regardless of the genre? If you're producing content like Welile does for television or for YouTube or for whatever, but maybe television in this case, how much, is expected to go onto you? What are your plans in terms of that? And then secondly, and I'm throwing this to all of you. Secondly, diversification. When you look at other countries, artists that are making money, diversify. They go into business, into entrepreneurship. I've seen artists diversify because of COVID, which is forced. Tizalami was speaking about change and us having to adapt to change. But this is the forced type of change, which is quite painful. And yet, if we plan for it and diversify accordingly, according to plan, associations and stables and the different companies that are running the industry, what are your plans in terms of education of the artists going forward? So yes, maybe we will regulate your money and you will get the money. But now that you have the money, how can we assist you in terms of investing and diversifying what it is, that you do with your money? So I'll throw that in, and maybe I'll start with you, Welile, in the industry that you're in, around the 2 issues, and what are the possibilities is really there? Or maybe even just share with us your plans going forward.
Okay, thank you, Pila. I just want to go back a little bit, if you'll allow me.
Yes.
I know that you're asking what are our plans going forward, and I just want to take responsibility as an artist as well, just for us as artists, because there's a big role. There's been a big change, let me say, with this with COVID. We have suddenly been thrust into this digital space, and the competition is that much more higher. I mean, people are sitting there thinking, why should I spend my money on your content when there's Netflix and it's all data that I have to spend?
Yes.
So now we're competing with our South African counterparts, with the world as well. So I think just for us as well, one of the things that I feel this virus is teaching us is what's it, quality. You know, we have to produce premium content. I think we are in a space where we can't be mediocre anymore. And so even if we'll complain, there's a lot of things that are not going right. But what we need to ask ourselves as well is, now that we're out there in the world, can we really compete? And it's very important for each one of us during this period, you know, to, as I was saying earlier, that we're just taking the time, some of us and colleagues, to improve our skills, to upskill, because this is, it's not just a glitch in the matrix. This is our future. This is the new normal. We are in a global existence now. So even post-COVID, we're not going to suddenly shut the borders and switch off the internet and go back into our little corners and do what we've been doing in the past. So I think for me, I was just going to say that for us as artists, I think what Petsile mentioned and what Tiza Lami mentioned, and I think even Swazi Boy, that the thing about music, your artists availing music on international platforms or on a digital space, it's become that much more competitive. And I'm glad. I think I just wanted to commend Miss Masilela, especially for even organizing workshops. We haven't done that in the film space. I am sitting here wondering, how am I going to make money? How does Vimeo work? You know, all those things. And I'm teaching myself in my own little space. So it's a great thing that you guys are doing. For us, what are we doing going forward? And people, thank you, Shadow, for saying I deserve 5 million. Yay. But I'm happy to say that we have, fortunately, a broadcaster like Eswatini TV, and I know that right now they're in the process of benchmarking what the rates are in their in other PSBs, public service broadcasters in the region. For instance, SABC and NBC, which is almost Namibia Broadcasting Corporation, which is almost the same, you know, level as Eswatini TV. So they are on this drive to give us what we are worth. And I know that the organization has had several meetings just to discuss those issues. The regulator as well, I've been present in quite a number of meetings where they've been talking about even protecting our space as filmmakers. One of the things that we spoke about very passionately was one, in South Africa, I know for a fact that as a Swazi company, I can't play in their space. I have to rather partner with a South African company to have access to filmmaking in South Africa. So this is something that we also have put forward in our meetings with the regulator, to say, you need to protect our space. If South Africans or other international production houses are coming into Swaziland, the least you can do is at least attach us to Shadow and sort of just a skills transfer program of sorts, so that we improve our economies. Right now, going forward, as a filmmaker, for me, I'm trying to figure out how to create a web series. This is a personal thing, because, you know, I'm beginning to realize that one, television viewing, as we are so used to it, has changed. And more than that, for filmmaking, particularly with Corona, I think you will be aware there's new regulations all over the world. South Africa shut down for some time, and I think they came back, went into production on May 4. With this much new regulations, you cannot have extras. I think most of us have watched things like What Daily Show, and you're like, what's going on? Because we're used to audiences. So even on set, you can't have extras. So that's a challenge for us. Like, how are we going to make scenes that are live? I mean, who goes into town and they're all by themselves? You need to have people walking around. So it's things like that. That's one of the biggest challenges that we were facing. So with the regulations, I think we're going to start seeing films without kissing scenes, which will be very unusual. Yes, wow. Please don't frown, Pila. That's going to happen. You know,
don't take away kissing now. Come on.
No such things. And unfortunately, the biggest blow, I think, will be for us as production houses, we're forced to scale down our crews. For Eswatini right now, I think maybe it's not going to be such a big thing, because for instance, we at most our crew we're 19. So I know that with South African regulations, which we might probably just adopt as we always do, you have to be 50 at most. So for now, we're okay. But what this means is in the long term, our biggest dreams of having Hollywood-sized crews, which are very necessary, is not going to happen for a long while. And a lot of us have to sort of dabble in different positions, and that's just being overworked and unfortunately for now underpaid. So that is what we're doing, or what I'm doing, and what the crew and other filmmakers in the space that I know, that's what they're doing, and that's what we're waiting for. And hopefully when things open up, we'll get back to work. But I just wanted to add, Pila, side note, one of the things that really, really breaks my heart about this pandemic is how it's changing the way we live, right? And as a filmmaker, part of my job is preserving history in the form of film. So because we haven't had a thriving film industry in Eswatini, there's a lot of part of our history that we have lost.
Yeah.
As I'm telling you now, the fact that we're going to go into creating films where people are not intimate, where people cannot be in these big spaces. Think about it. If I were to go into season 2 of Ekaya, this is a traditional setup. Mihlangano yabo chief, emhlanganweni wemango. You have throngs, so many people. But you can't do that now because of these new regulations. You can't have a meeting where there's 50 people and representing the authentic scene of a meeting in Pagati. It's going to be highly flawed because obviously I can't have 50 people. So because the industry has been so quiet and there hasn't been any money being pumped into our industry, we have failed in essence, because only now I think the broadcaster and other players are coming in to say, you know what, let us make films. But so much has gone, so that really sort of breaks my heart, but it is what it is. And possibly we're moving towards an era of animation, because I mean that's the safest thing to do. That's the only way people are going to be 50 in the space. That's the only way people are going to be intimate. That's the only way, so that's also another challenge for our filmmakers here at home, just that's getting into that space of animation, that sort of skill, because honestly right now and with the new normal, what I perceive is we're going to get into a space where we're creating these virtual worlds. And if you don't have that skill, so some of us are going to be sort of useless, which is why it's very important right now to acquire as much skill in the many disciplines within the film space. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Wayne. I think that is quite a learning, for us. I mean, it's quite it's a shock to learn about the new regulations and what that will mean for for TV. And I mean, it has already affected the live music industry. I'm sure Shadow will agree with that. With events being cancelled, obviously that's a huge blow. But I don't think we had looked at it to the extent of how it affects your industry. So I think we really appreciate to hear that. I wonder if Tizalami, you would want to chip in, on the side of regulation, for the music industry especially, and the way forward for Eswatini artists.
Okay, thank you so much, Pila. You can hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Right. I think this is a very good question. Actually, and also a timely one, because only about a month or two ago, we were talking with a group of artists. We have several groups whereby we interact with our membership informally and at times formally. And we're talking about this issue of regulation that, you will discover or you will realize that so far, I call our industry in quotes, I call it a sector really more than an industry for now, Because for us to call it an industry, it means we need to start seeing the Emalangenis in sense. We need to see, we need to even have statistics, official statistics, you know, collected by the Central Statistics Office, you know, that are pertinent to the arts, that actually give us how much the arts industry has contributed to the economy. And yet we have been contributing, but the fact that those statistics do not are not available shows that we still treat it informally, yet we need to formalize it. I recall there's an article I read some time ago that says this is the house we have built. Now it's time to put a roof on it. And that roof is regulations. It comes in the form of regulations. For it to be an industry, it has to be regulated. I'm glad I had Welile speak of regulations or regulators within her sector. But we need broader regulations. We need regulations even within the music industry, within performing artists as well. There is a time in 20... yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, please
okay.
Continue.
There's a time in 2016 when the Arts Council actually brought a document to a group of promoters. It called a meeting for promoters and event organizers. Back in the day, I was not part of the SOMA executive. I remember I did attend that meeting. It was held at one of the local establishments in at Malandela, or rather in Malkens, a house on fire, obviously. Right. So but what we discovered is that document, they were proposing to regulate the industry. And that document was very rich. It was a good document, obviously copied elsewhere and pasted. We needed to customize it to our situation. We needed to customize it to our industry or to our market, right? But for some reason, the participants were very constricted, given that perhaps it wasn't publicized well at the time. The participants felt it was not time to regulate the industry for their own reasons. But we as SWAMA, we've deliberated extensively. As the new executive, we've deliberated extensively on that issue, to a point whereby we have written a proposal to the Arts Council to actually convene an Arts Indaba, whereby all associations, all artists will be invited to make contributions in the crafting of that document, or a framework, or a regulatory framework of some sort. If a document comes from the people or from the artists themselves, then it's going to be even effective, because we know the issues, artists themselves know the issues that they currently face. So regulation, yes, is about time. The industry has grown now, or the sector has grown now to become an industry. So it's about time that we get regulated. But obviously that's not an association, that we can't regulate at an association level. It has to be done at a national level and at a central government level. Hence our call to the Arts Council to be, I will repeat my phrase again, to be proactive when it comes to issues of arts, as much as they are with issues of culture as well. I think the arts has to be elevated as well to that level, whereby we get equal recognition and equal, preference. That said, I want to talk a little bit about what Shaito said, Pilar, if you allow me, in terms of the corporate also coming into party or into play. Yes, that's a good point. That's a good suggestion, but that does not mean that we are seated. We have already written to a number of corporates, to start, sending in proposals and suggestions as well, and giving them ideas where they can tap into the arts or into the sector somehow. And perhaps I would like to first commend and laud our longtime friend, MTN Eswatini. Guys, we cannot run away from the fact that they've been doing the most for many years now, to a point whereby they've got a huge budget. I remember their then acting CEO, Sosison Shego, now head of corporate affairs, telling the nation that they've spent close to 10 million Emalang, or they're going to spend 10 million Emalangeni this year on us alone. And at the time when they announced that, it was before COVID. Now, when COVID came, we sent proposals to MTN, proposals for realignment in terms of priorities, because without delving much into them, because they are still under, negotiation table. And I will tell you that there is some headway. There's some good headway that we're making with MTN. But then you see, obviously there are other corporates that I'm leaving out. There's Ready. They've also sponsored us, and they're also willing to come to party. And there is also Standard Bank. I thought Oily was going to mention them in passing. Standard Bank are also doing something with ECA, which is very good. And we hereby call upon all other corporates. I'm sure they're watching right now, or people they are watching right now, to recommit or to refocus those CSI budgets towards the arts. Artists right now really need help. We need all sorts of help from all corners and from anyone. But then I wanted to say, we cannot really take away government's responsibility and then throw it entirely to the private sector. Remember, we are a tax-paying nation. Even artists themselves, Shekhar was telling us that artists themselves do pay tax. So we are paying tax-paying nation. Then in terms, in situations whereby we have a disaster, as we have a national disaster, it was actually declared a national disaster. We expect the government to come to party then and give some sort of relief to the artists. We expect even our minister to be very, forthcoming when it comes to new ideas or ideas of giving relief to the artists themselves. And going forward, Peter, because I only want to believe that this so-called new normal is a permanent situation. Yes, it's going to take some time. Yeah, we can't run away from that. But as we have seen, that government is doing everything within their means, within their powers, again, to flatten the curve. We see all the efforts that are being done. But at the same time, we need to live. Remember, hence, some sectors of the economy are being opened up. Even the lockdown restrictions themselves and the regulations are being eased here and there. Then, as an association, we have decided actually to write to government again to ask. We haven't said this, and they've allowed me, my executive allowed me to reveal this, that we have written to government actually to ask for a partial reopening of the industry. I'll explain. A partial reopening. Remember, we have a pandemic we are dealing with. We're in a war here. If we have a national disaster being declared, it means it's a war, and this war is against an invisible, attacker, this virus. So we cannot run away from that, guys, and say, let's just open up. I saw a very rather what other people call irresponsible statement on the papers recently, whereby some are saying, no, let's just continue living like everything is normal. No, we have to adhere to the regulations that have been stipulated. So in our proposal, actually, the minister asked us to suggest the sectors or those sections of the arts that we feel should be opened up, and then even suggest the types of regulations that should be implemented to ensure that we do not expose our artists and we do not expose even the audience to the virus. So we have written a proposal. Government is looking at it, and some of the low risk sections of the arts are definitely, of the art sector, definitely, we hope they shall be opening pretty soon. But perhaps jumping the gun, at the end of the day, it's really up to government what they decide. But we try to really, explain how dire the situation is for everybody. Not that if those sectors open, everyone will benefit. We still need a relief of sorts. This is an open call actually to even international agencies that operate within our country and within the Eswatini territory, the likes of the United Nations family and other international organizations, that the arts sector is in dire straits right now as we are speaking. And we actually request, we beg, we beseech you to come to party and help us. Call us to the table and let's come up with a way of assisting our members. Because writing proposals, we've written those. But at the end of the day, if we are not coming to party, we need to use platform like yours, Pilar, and even mainstream media, as we have been doing so anyway, you know, to actually amplify the call, to amplify the request. Because at the end of the day, we feel for us to progress, like the song that we did with Akaswa calls Asibe Munye. That's a call to everybody, that let's put resources together and ensure that we sustain these industries that's currently constricted, currently crippling, but this shall come to pass, hopefully, if we continue adhering to all the regulations government is giving us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tizalami. That was a mouthful. And it is unfortunate that we're running out of time now, but I still want to give Shadow and Petsile a chance as well to just share, you know, plans going forward. I know that your plans as Swama and Akeswa could probably be similar to an extent, but if there's anything, Petsile, that you feel Bongani and Swama are doing that, or rather that aren't doing that you guys are doing, and you'd love to share with us, would you please just go ahead and share with the people the plans for Akeswa going forward?
Thank you, Pilar. I think basically Mr. Dube has covered quite a number of things that I would also attest to. For me, I would like to summarize everything by saying, I think I want to challenge the artists themselves, the individuals that are in the industry, the events managers, the artist managers, everyone who's playing a role, that we need to do a lot of house cleaning ourselves. Before we expect someone else outside to support us, let's learn to support each other. Mtunzi talked about circulation of money within the country. Me, I would like to add that it would be good for us to look at ways of circulating money within the industry. But can't start doing that until we realize that we need one another to move forward. Yeah, I think I would just like to summarize it like that. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Petsile. I think that's a very good call, you know, to action for artists to come together as well and support each other, because if we show as artists, for instance, that we are united and we are working together, I think we also influence, you know, and encourage others to do the same for us. Shadow, Swazi Boy Entertainment, the business side of music. Would you please also give your parting shot as far as your plans for the future, sir?
Okay, first of all, I'm gonna ask both Swama and Akeswa that when they do events, they need to hire us to do the events for them. I think that's the first space to do it, so that if within ourselves we're able to hire each other to do the events, then these corporates will see that they have to come to us for events. You understand what I'm saying? Is that because like you find that in most instances is that a company has a budget of 150,000 for their end of year party, like you guys at that big company there by Matapa. I don't want to put you into trouble. You understand?
Yeah.
Listen, you form a committee to look at a Christmas party. Those people, instead of them working for the company what they're hired and paid for, they waste time and energies, and pay that amount. And paying other people instead of taking that lump sum to say, Shadow, we've got the budget of 150,000. This is what we need. Companies should start having faith in us. But for that to happen, we have to show faith amongst each other. If we show them that we're able to, when Swama says that during the awards, the other hiring Swazi Boy, or they're hiring Platinum Concept, or they're flying Mega Sound to manage the event, the awards for them. It will show the companies that, no, these people are organized and they know what you're doing. That's the first step. And the second step is that the step of them is that we have, as Wendy has said, we've moved into digital space. Everybody now, we're playing with the big sharks now. You understand? When we're competing with big productions who have, like, we're competing with Tyler Perry in that space, because like when we're all going to digital space, that's a crazy world, crazy world. Even on YouTube, that we have gone to YouTube. We have gone to YouTube. The reason why we went to YouTube is because we felt that we spoke really briefly before we started doing the formal side of things, that documenting stuff. So we went into the YouTube space, so that we started with the ultimate stay home party for the DJs to play. So now a DJ can be like, hey, if they want to hire them in South Africa or in Greece in the coming year or so, when we started working within the new normal space, to say, I've got a link. You want to know what music I play? Here's a link. They go to the link and they'll go to the ultimate stay home party, and they're able to find that. This is me DJing. They can see that. We've created TikTok Eswatini. What we're doing with TikTok Eswatini, we are creating brands. Dr. Shakes is a host and mentor. We are building new influencers. We're building new masters of ceremonies. That's what we're building. We've got Ndosh doing the short left in the Kingdom of Good Music. The Kingdom of Good Music is Eswatini, because that is where the good music is at, period. Nobody gonna tell me nothing. That's that's who we are, you know. So we have that. When we're taking around, we're going within what we call domestic tourism in Eswatini, and we're taking the big artists of Eswatini to perform. As I said earlier, I was rushing to make it to this, because like I was from Eswatini where we're shooting today. We had symphony, you understand? So like we're bringing, we want to go to Akeso. I want Akeso to bring us an artist to go with, so that, because like we don't want to confine ourselves within the main genres, like your house, whatever. We want to go full on, like present a full buffet of what Eswatini has to offer to the world. Then we've got one mic where we just record quality music, where they test their vocal capabilities. You must look for it. It's called One Mic Ngwane on the Swazi Boy TV on YouTube. It's like, and then we've got hip hop as well, like dope MCs. But what we're trying to do is that we're giving all the Swazi artists a platform to document their music, so that they're able to provide for links when they are doing interviews, or their resumes, profiles, documentaries as well. So then the question comes, is that where you do that? But I would have loved. I'm going to ask you, Tiza, to help us, because like right now, I don't want to lie, Eswatini arts and culture have helped us with a bit of money for the production, but it's just only for the production. Then what happens to the artists? Because I've got script writers there, I've got producers, I've got everybody else. What happens to them? I was hoping that I wrote a proposal that I was hoping that the DJ that comes and plays on the ultimate stay home party, or come to the short left and perform, the customer must have a voucher, you know, get a voucher of 500 to 1,000 in Malangini that they can take home with, you know, to show that there's something that they did today, and they benefited by wasting their time and going to with us to Skofane. So we're appealing to the corporates. That is what we're asking from the corporates, that meet us halfway, because we're trying to help these artists to help us in terms of improving their lifestyles, helping them from getting hungry and depressed.
No, thank you very much, Shadow. Again, sir, your passion and your compassion is palpable. Thank you very much for the work that you do. There's actually a message for you from Pinda Master P. Russell on Facebook that says, shout out to you, Shadow, and your team for trying to keep the fire burning in the industry. I know it's not easy, but we appreciate you. I mean, all of the platforms that you have created that are trying to keep people, working and busy at this point. We see you and we appreciate you. And if there's a way that, I'm appealing to the public now that we can also assist, because these artists keep us happy, they make us happy. And when we go overseas and we go to other countries, we showcase their product and claim that these are our friends from our different countries. That's our point of pride. So if there's a way right now, to support these same artists, may we please do that.
Can I say something?
Yes, you can, before I close. Yeah.
Yeah, before you close. You know what the funny part is? Most of these marketing managers and stuff and the marketing people that are there, when they go to these events in SA where they've been called by the bigger parent companies, is that when these artists ask them about us, hey, do you know Shadow? Do you know Kulelani? Do you know? No, those are boys, man. Those are boys. But when you call them and you write proposals to them, they don't answer calls, man. It's like,
that's so sad.
Dodgy. It's dodgy, man.
So if they're listening, if you guys are listening and watching, please let's show it even when we're at home. Guys, in the next
can I say something quickly before I leave? Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, just
yes,
1 second.
You're gonna be the last speaker.
Okay, thank you.
I
wanted to just reiterate what Shadow said, right? And I think I'm just picking a lot of, we need corporates to help us, we need help. As artists, we don't need help. We need recognition. We are doing the work, and we want corporates to hold us to the same standard that they hold our South African counterparts. We're very much capable. And what he said when he was speaking about an event, I think it's everywhere. Like, I'm talking film. For film, you have to hire the transport industry. There's food and beverage industry. There's fashion. There's beauty industry. All those industries are with the one film that you're going to make. So I just wish for even corporates, my plea to them is for them to understand that by commissioning or by working with artists, by working with events managers, events companies and everyone, it's not just Swazi Boy, you're giving money to Swazi Boy. Swazi Boy is going to hire a transport company, hire security people, hire a food and beverage company, all of that. So you are in essence stimulating the economy. So they need to look beyond that. So if they want to actually resuscitate this economy, they need to give money to the artists, and artists are going to put the money where it's supposed to be. And we're going to deliver the product high quality, just like our counterparts in other countries. So we just need that confidence more than help, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I say my parting words?
Yes, 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes. Thank you so much. I just wanted to echo what Shaito and Welile just said, that we need recognition. And I feel that recognition will definitely come by if we regulate the industry. That question was very important, the issue of regulating the industry. Because the moment you regulate the industry, those regulations will state how much artists should be paid. And actually, if a corporate or event organizer is bringing a foreign artist into our shows, our local artists have to be paid exactly the same amount or even better. The moment we start believing in ourselves, it's a mindset thing. We need to believe in ourselves first. as Emma Swat. We need to believe in our artists. We need to believe in our product. And then that's when even the corporates will start recognizing. So as artists and as leaders, we already believe in ourselves because we know our quality is at par with international standards, with whatever you get from elsewhere. We are at par, if not better at times or at some instances. So we need a regulation. Then the last point I want to make is the issue that this is a digital era, like we said. It's Industry 4.0. The fourth industrial revolution is upon us. So there's a lot of data consumption going on because now content is being done online. So we'd like to call upon our government and also the service providers themselves to consider actually giving us a reprieve in terms of data. The price of data. We need the data to be very affordable so that our people get to access our work, because our artists are now there in YouTube big time. They are now there on Facebook Live and all these other streaming platforms. Our artists are there in full force and actually raising our flag, because this is a global audience now. But the data locally is still high. You find that this show, for instance, is watched more by people outside the country than here. Why? Because data is expensive. So please let the data price come down. Give those service providers international gateway if they need them, so that the data goes down. We need that to be done as soon as yesterday.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Tizalami. Guys, in exactly 10 minutes, Ekaya is playing on Eswatini TV, and we don't want to miss that now, do we? So I know we have a lot more to say. I know this is a very pertinent issue, but may I just close with Tipo Shabalala's comment, and he's saying, guys, please don't give up. Things are about to explode your direction. The efforts that you've put and continue to put is visible and recognized. And I think this is the sentiment that we share as Simply Speaking as well, to say, you know, to the associations, to the artists themselves, and to the guys that, you know, are representing the artists, people like you, Welile and Chad, who are putting in the work and the hours to try and get money to pay artists and also work for the artists. We see your efforts and we really don't consider those as light as maybe you might feel when we don't show you the recognition that you deserve. Thank you so much for being advocates. And personally, you know, I wish you all the best. And I do hope that, you know, post-COVID, this crisis will not have gone to waste. We will come out stronger. We'll come out with better strategies. And when the time is up for this to move over and we go back, the music shall keep playing, Shadow. Deja Vu will be full. You know, the house music will definitely be full. We're buying Boskojana for Ekaya season 2, Welile, season 2 and 3 and 4 and everything. All the documentaries were coming, Petile. We're filling up those stadiums and all those shows. Thank you so much, guys. And all the best. Stay home, stay safe, sanitize for now. And very soon, I believe we shall get back and have the music playing again. Thank you very much. Have yourselves a wonderful evening. And thank you for joining us and making Simply Speaking as awesome as I think it is. Cheers, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye.